So Act 3 has been out for a couple of weeks now, and it is about time that we make a new agent tier list, especially with just, the sheer amount of agent changes we got. Things like the nerfs to Cypher, the major buffs to Phoenix, the buffs to Sage. There were just a lot of very, very big changes. Now, real quick, I do just want to say that for anyone who has not watched one of my tier list videos in the past, the way I tend to rank characters is based on a blend of both their effectiveness and their ease of use. So if a character is very easy to use and also very good, they're going to be, more likely to be at the top of the list. And if a character, for example, is very strong but is also very hard to use, they're probably going to end up more towards the middle for that reason. And I'll try to point out which characters kind of fall into those, categories as we go on. One example would just be like Yoru. I want to throw him out there. Everybody knows, very hard character to master, but very, very strong in the right hands. Now that we got that cleared though, it is a perfect time to jump into the C tier where I have two agents, Harbor and Vise. And to be completely honest, neither of these agents are unplayably bad, but I do want to point out that they just have some major flaws. Also, I do know Harbor is supposed to be getting a rework or a buff very soon, but we don't really know what that is yet, so I'm not really factoring that in because we just don't have any information. Harbor is just a very hard character to master, and I feel like even when you do master Harbor, he's still just not really that great in comparison to a lot of the other controllers. Yes, I've seen that Looty-Loo boing boing guy. He goes crazy with Harbor. I'm not saying he's bad by any means, but there are just better characters that are also easier to use. As for Vise though, I barely even put her in C tier. I'm not gonna lie, I think she is definitely worse than Harbor. I didn't feel comfortable putting anybody that low, but you guys remember my last video, I absolutely ripped into Vise. The character is just not great. Her Vine's pretty mid. You can just stand there and they don't do anything. Her sheer is only good in some very, very specific scenarios. And then her ult, 8 points for that. It's not horrible, but it's very situational, and I feel like it just costs way too much. Especially with characters like Sage now having a 7-point ult, which, Sage's ult is way better than Vise's ult in the first place, and it literally costs less. Why would you ever play Vise? Moving on though, we need to talk about some better agents in the B tier, the first one being Astra. I really don't think this should be coming as a surprise to anybody. She got her 5th star back not too long ago, and ever since then, she's just been, a lot more versatile than when she had 4 stars for obvious reasons. So I think B tier, pretty solid spot. She is still very hard to use, but, now that she has more util at her disposal, I think B tier is a very fair spot. Next up in B tier, we have the man himself, Brimstone. Now, I'm not gonna lie. Brimstone being in B tier, I feel like he's in B tier literally every single video I make. But, let's be real. The dude has 3 smokes, which is a huge upside. But he also has a downside that those smokes don't recharge. So he's kind of in this weird spot where he can do some things other controllers can't, but he also can't do things other controllers can. But even beyond, just the smokes, he does have a very strong molly, which is not to be slept on by any means, and an ult that can deep fry anybody who stands within the radius. So on maps like Bind, dude is an absolute beast, but there are some other maps where he does kind of fall behind, so I can't really put him any higher than B tier. Next up in B, we have Deadlock. Deadlock is another agent that I know is getting buffs very soon. However, we just don't really know what those buffs are. And I know she did technically get a buff to her ult very recently where it now guaranteed kills the person in the ult. But that was more of just like a bug where it gets stuck on something, so I don't really want to talk too much about that. Either way though, Deadlock in her current state, she's pretty solid, especially on maps like Sunset. And in the right hands, she can be very good. I think there are definitely better Sentinels, but she's not bad by any means. Moving on though, the next B agent we have is Fade. Fade is just all around very good. Her scans are absolutely amazing, and she is arguably the best agent in the entire game when it comes to clearing corners. The only thing she does kind of lack is an ability to destroy trip mines, something Sova has, which is also kind of why Fade is in B tier. You could maybe make the argument she's an A tier character, but I think B tier is a pretty good spot. Next up in B tier though, we have everybody's favorite blue-haired agent. We got the brother himself, Yo-Yo, Gyro, Yoru, whatever you want to call the brother. Dude is an absolute bucket. I'm not gonna lie. He's a very, very good agent in the right hands. But for every good Yoru you see about 25 bad ones. And that's why he's in B tier. He is not easy to play by any means. And people like Eggster just make him look a lot easier than he really is. Moving on though, the final agent we have in B tier is going to be Omen. Now, I know it sounds absolutely insane, and the fact that he fell this far to B tier when he was like A tier, borderline S, pretty bad, not gonna lie. But you guys gotta understand why I have him so low. The main reason being, the thing that made Omen so good was the one-ways that nobody else could place. Those got completely removed in the last update, and honestly, even some one-ways that you are still supposed to be able to place aren't even working right now. So, I mean, if those get fixed, he could probably, go back to like A tier, but he's definitely not going to be borderline S by any means. But Omen is just a lot worse than what he was. Anyways, though, that's enough about how they shafted my boy Omen. Pause, that sounds crazy. But moving on to the A tier, the first agent we have is the brother Breach. Other than being an annoying piece of shit, Breach is a very, very good agent. And I mean, bro, like the amount of times I've gotten double flashed by this dude, double stun, thrown off the map. I mean, maybe not thrown. That only happened like once, but like still, the dude is annoying as shit, and he is very, very good, especially on console where it is admittedly just a little bit harder to dodge flashes than it is on M&K. Next up in A tier is You Want to Play? It's the brother Chamber. I hate him. He has a stupid voice. He probably smells like baguettes, but I gotta give it to the brother. His teleport is good, all right? Like after they buffed it, he is genuinely a very good character, and he can play for a lot of very, very risky opening kills that other characters just simply can't. And it's because of that ability that he's in A tier. Moving on from him, this one is going to shock a lot of people, but I bumped Cypher down from S tier to A tier. Don't get me wrong, Cypher in the right hands is still an S tier character, but I think you can definitely kind of see who's actually good with Cypher now and who just looks up best setup video on YouTube. Because I'm going to be real, before these changes, he was so goddamn good that it did not matter your skill level on Cypher. It literally didn't matter. You could be a complete beginner. If you had the best setups, you were chilling. You were going to basically just shit on any team that didn't have a Razor or Sova. However, now he actually has counterplay, for teams that don't have a Razor or Sova. You can actually beat a Cypher even on, his most dominant maps, which means the Cypher player just has to be actually good at the game now, which I think is great. Next up in A tier though, we have Jet. Jet is just an absolute beast of an entry duelist, very good on maps like Icebox and Haven, and there's really nothing to hate about Jet's kit. I mean, her ult does feel a little bit weak at times for costing as much as it does, but updraft, smokes that you can dash into, great, very reliable entry. Continuing that trend of great entry duelists, we also have Raze. Raze and Jet, I've said it in the past, they basically serve the same purpose. They do kind of the same things, and you kind of just pick whichever one is better for that map. Next up in A tier though is actually a new addition. It is going to be Sage. Honestly, if you wanted to argue Sage is S tier, I'm not gonna be mad at you. I do think she can be there if the player is very good and knows pretty much every wall in the game. Otherwise, I mean, having a 7-point ult now on Sage, I did not expect them to do that by any means. It made her a lot better. But on top of that, her self-heal being 50 now and, going at the same speed as an ally heal instead of taking about 30 minutes to get like a little bit of health. I mean, she's a great character. She was good before, she's great now. Speaking of healing characters though, Skye is another one who is absolutely amazing, and she definitely deserves a spot in A tier. She does everything you'd want in an initiator. She has good flashes, she has good recon with her dog, her ult's pretty solid, I mean, she can heal the team. What's not to like about Skye? I mean, other than the fact that she does have a little bit of a learning curve, which is not as steep as somebody like Yoru, just pointing that out there. She's good. She is so goddamn good, and she deserves an A tier spot. Moving on to the next A tier agent, we talked about him earlier in the video. It is the brother Shockdart Sova. I mean, he be going crazy. If he has lineups, it's a scary sight to see. I'm not gonna lie. You know, you get recon, you get the ability to break Cypher trips, which admittedly, like I said, they're not as good anymore, but that definitely is still very welcome. And those shock darts can also save you in a post plant situation if, you know, you plant them for lineups. And his ult, I mean, also free round win. Literally, just as long as you execute it decently, free round win. While we're on the topic of initiators, though, another A tier one is KO 100%. Dude is a beast. Great flashes, great recon with his knife that for some reason my teammates never seem to shoot. I don't even think they know that you can shoot the knife because holy shit, my lobbies are just... Okay, I had to stop myself because I was about to pop off. I'm not gonna lie. This is not a rant video. Just KO, A tier character, very good. That's all I gotta say. Finally, though, coming in as the last character in A tier, we have Viper. Her wall just makes for a lot of things that literally nobody else in this game can do. Yes, I know people like Harbor and Phoenix, they do have walls, but let's be real. Are we really comparing a Phoenix wall to a Viper wall? Absolutely not. Her Viper's Pit, yes, it does cost 9 points, which is insane, but it is also pretty much a guaranteed round win on either side of the spike, whether that's attack or defense. Viper is just a very, very strong character. Anyways, though, moving on from Viper, we have finally made it to what everybody has been waiting for, the S tier. And I'm just going to be completely honest, nothing in S tier should surprise anybody other than maybe one agent that I bumped up. But starting it off, we have Clove. Not really much to say there. I mean, she has self-res. They lowered it to 10 seconds, which is the only change she really got. But, I mean, even with that nerf, she still has great smokes. Her pick-me-up is absolutely insane. And her medley, I'd be forgetting what her grenade is called. But that thing in combination with something like a raise nade can be a serious problem. Speaking of another character that recently got nerfed that is still S tier, I have Gekko. Yes, I know Gekko's ult went to 8 points and, you know, they nerfed his util a little bit. However, I really don't think that, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think that affects him too much. Because even with those nerfs, he is still so easy to use. And he is the only character in this game that can remotely plant or remotely defuse the spike. And that value alone keeps him in the S tier. You could argue high A tier if you want, but I still think Gekko is very strong. The next agent I have in S tier is another one that you could maybe argue, but it is going to be Reyna. I think ever since she got that buff to her recoil and her ult, she has just been so goddamn good. And yes, I do know you do kind of need to be at least a decent player to really take advantage of Reyna's util. But even then, I mean, being able to get a kill kind of in a dangerous position and then dismiss away and get out for free, I think that is so strong. And I mean, I was saying with Chamber, that's pretty much the reason he's in A tier. You give Reyna that ability, plus the ability to flash people, pause. I mean, she can do so many things. Staying on the topic of duelists, though, no, it's not the one you're thinking of yet. The next S tier duelist we have is Phoenix. Phoenix got a massive buff, and at least for console, he is so strong now. I mean, it's basically impossible to dodge one of his flashes already, and the fact that, you know, he could throw a flash, get a kill, throw a second flash, get another kill, and then boom, he now has a third flash. I mean, I don't know who approved those changes. He is so annoying now, but I mean, let's face it, he is really strong. And you guys already knew it was coming. Another very strong agent is, I'm not going to spend much time talking about her because she needs to be nuked into the floor. It's Neon. That's literally all I have to say. If you need an explanation, I mean, good luck. And you know what? Now that I think about it, I'm throwing ISO in that same category as Neon. If you need an explanation, I don't know what to tell you because the dude is such a brain rot, stupid agent, all right? Like, I don't know how many times I've tapped this guy in the head and been like, ah, man, like, you know what? I hit his shield or whatever. I'm going to go back into cover. Then I'm going to peek him and get the kill, right? But then, you know, one of my teammates decides, hey, I'm going to peek this ISO. They get killed. The guy gets another shield. And then it's just an infinite loop. It is so insufferable to play against. Please delete the character, Riot. It's just, oof. Oof. Anyways, though, moving on from those very, very pesky and annoying duelists, that only leaves one more character, Killjoy. Killjoy is bona fide S tier. Yes, I know her ult costs like 1,000,000 points and it feels like you never really get it. But, I mean, she's good. She is so good. Her turret, her alarm bots, her swarm grenades. She has so much great util at her disposal now. And, well, I shouldn't say now, because she always had it. It's just Cypher was so broken that there was no point of really playing KJ. I mean, I shouldn't say no point, but you guys know what I mean. Like, now that Cypher got nerfed, KJ has so much more room to operate, and I feel like it just kind of propels her into being S tier because Cypher was that dominant. Anyways, though, that is pretty much going to be everything I have for today's video. If you guys did end up enjoying it, I would greatly appreciate it if you left a like and a comment letting me know what you thought. And if you are new around here, it never hurts to hit that subscribe button. Anyways, it's been Gravelly. Peace.